Good morning, everyone. Today I'm here with Derek Van and Damian Derek, and today we're debating federalism. Welcome to the Goon Squad.
Chuck. Goon Squad.
Thanks, Chuck. It's good to be here.
Thanks for having me on, Chuck.
And the question that we'll be answering today and addressing in terms of federalism is gun control when it comes to the relationship between states and the federal government. All right, Derek, what do you think?
Thanks, Chuck. Well, as the representative for pro-federal government, I think this conversation is as good as over once we realize, the Second Amendment clearly states that all people have the right to bear arms. So clearly the federal government has jurisdiction over that.
It's a good point. Damian, Derek?
Well, Chuck, as the pro-state representative, obviously the Second Amendment was referring to the people's right to form a militia against the government, and the Founding Fathers had no way of knowing how complicated gun rights would become.
Well, Damian, Derek, even if the Second Amendment was only meant to allow citizens to have militias, it still clearly states that citizens have the right to bear arms and that right cannot be infringed upon. So, I think the power would still lie in the national government, the federal government, to decide whether the citizens of the United States can bear arms and in which way they can.
Yes, Derek, that is true. The Second Amendment does say that citizens have the right to bear arms. However, the Founding Fathers had no idea that guns would cause such a harmful impact on today's society.
All right, seems like our argument's derailing just a little bit, so let's try to keep on topic. With that, let's look at what the Constitution actually says.
Well, Chuck, the Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 18, the Elastic Clause, basically states that the federal government, specifically Congress, has the power to make any laws that are deemed necessary and proper. And seeing as guns are the number one cause of death for children ages 1 to 19, this clearly seems like a big enough issue that would be deemed necessary and proper to be regulated by the national government.
Yes, Derek. However, it is also true that the 10th Amendment says that any powers not specifically granted to the federal government by the Constitution are given to the states or the people inside of the states.
Chuck, can you fact check this for me?
Sure, Jack, I can do that for you. All right, 10th Amendment. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people.
Oh, damn it, Damian, you got me there.
Yes, Derek, that is very embarrassing for you.
All right, with that, I think we'll call that section just about done. And so for audience members who don't know, before we started this, we had both of our debaters look at some sources and research for their own individual arguments on the political landscape currently. All right, Derek, let's start with you. What do you have to say?
Thanks, Chuck. Well, Damian, Derek, a peer-reviewed study by the JAMA Network found that from the most restrictive gun laws in states to the least restrictive, they found a 20% reduction in gun deaths. So clearly, having stronger and more restrictive laws will allow for less deaths to occur. So if we allow the federal government to standardize, it'll allow for all of the states to have this gun death reduction.
It's a good point, Derek. Damian, what do you have to say about that?
Yes, Derek, that is true. However, the CDC says that firearm homicides are disproportionately concentrated in large metropolitan areas. So it seems like it should be up to the people in these large metropolitan areas like cities to decide, shouldn't it?
Well, the 10th Amendment does say that this non-enumerated right does go back to the state. Good point, Damian, Derek. Thank you.
That is a good point, Damian, Derek. However, if the standardization of gun control is really strict and applied by the federal government, then the issue of the metropolitan areas having increased gun violence will be limited and the cities will be safer. In either way, if Congress decides to make a law on gun control, Article 6 of the Constitution, the Supremacy Clause, allows that law to supersede any law created by the states. So it sounds like all of this just goes down to the federal government making a decision.
Well, Derek, While it is true that the federal government does have ultimate authority using the Supremacy Clause, the states do still have some power, as exemplified by states' ability to freely sell marijuana while it is federally illegal.
It's a good point, Derek. Good point, Damien, Derek. All right, so from that, I think we're ready to come to a final compromise on this issue. So just to recap, Derek, your argument is that the inclusion of the Second Amendment, Elastic Clause, and Supremacy Clause point to the federal government having original jurisdiction and power over gun control. While Damien, you argue that the 10th Amendment and Article 4 point to states having original jurisdiction and power over gun control, while also including modern examples like marijuana use and the legalization on the state level while being banned federally to argue for original jurisdiction and power of gun control being handed over to the states. In conclusion, we both agree that states should have more power and more power of regulation when it comes to gun control. Well, federally, they should have the final say and be able to ban/restrict guns federally and beyond all states.
You know what, Chuck? I agree. Damien?
Yeah, Derek, I agree. Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you, Damien. Glad to have you here. See you guys in the next episode of Goon Squad. Today we're with our Good morning, everyone.
Okay, it's Chuck.
Clearly says that he has no idea. Pro-state representative. Okay, you can't do that. Yes, Derek, that is very embarrassing. And I am David. Use the ultimate power using the Supremacy Clause. This true that stop using the Supremacy Clause. Well, Derek, while it is true that using the Supremacy Clause. Oh my gosh! Okay, I got it. The Supremacy. Using the Supremacy Clause, the states.
All right. So from that, it seems like, what am I saying? Hold on.